Oh boy, it's another week and another nostalgia fueled. Retro, hello, how are you?
Oh, I am here. We're doing it. You've told me just a bit about the cub. I'm excited because I know what's up on my side of the. I was going to call it a farm. Do we have a farm? But yeah, so I'm excited to. I'm just excited to be here.
That's good. I'm glad. I do want to start off and say,
Buckle up on Secret Crush.
hello on Secret Crush.
Buckle up.
I don't think this is a buckle up game. Uh, but I do want to
Ah,
say, when we first thought about Nostalgia Fueled, it was never my intention to bring in games and just rag on them, just badmouth them. Um, But unfortunately, this game has put itself into our realm, and I want to talk both about like what it does as a game that is trying to emulate a particular genre, and also about the studio and its work. Um, None of which I'm super keen on, but there are some things that I do want to highlight as things that I like about it. But this will be a far more critical nostalgia field than what we've done in the past.
yeah. I think. I mean, I don't want to speak for for Val here, but I'm in a similar spot where like we had list of games that were like, hey, like we know that these games do, A, B, and C are trying to be evocative of this style or this genre or whatever. So we like to, I mean, besides like Crow Country, which we played upon its initial release, we like to do a little bit of homework so like we can have, you know, educated conversations about like what we're saying about like developer intent and everything. um and so I too am in a similar spot where I started playing a game I was really excited about, and then I felt like it was repeatedly insulting me. And so that, like, a nostalgia fueled is, I guess, also critical on how nostalgia is um used to inspire and or be weaponized against the player. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
think that's an excellent way to put it. It is not just like my hope for games that are trying to inspire nostalgia are that they grow and develop the genre, and games don't always do that. And so, like, yeah, there's some games that deserve to get dunked on. I also want to come out and say that, like, I don't think that these devs are the same as like LKA or even Blooper Team, who both of which are dev teams that I very much dislike and would dissuade anyone from purchasing their games. I just think that they are a little confused on their messaging. And then at a different level, I, as a player, do not find their games very magnetic, but we will get into that as we play some.
Yeah, totally on Secret Crush. I think sometimes you have to sit back and sit, like, am I in a hater mood? It's like last week when I was just like, I think I'm in a gaming funk. Like I'm in the blues, having just completed a few games or like finished them, and it's like now what? Um, Definitely like kind of checking your perspective is important. I think with anything, life, you know,
Yep,
looks out the window at the world on fire.
yep. Hold your Americans tight. It's a scary place. Not too tight. Our guns will go off, but you know, apparently we have a king now. So with that, let's switch over to the game. Okay, there it is. Pull up my notes.
Gaming.
Okay. We are just going to jump in. I do not care. I've finished this game once already. Um, I don't think that this is one that we're going to finish. It is not particularly long, but I also don't think it's particularly good. There is an intro. We will kind of talk about the game after we get into it.
Yeah.
Hey, you. so no secrets. Okay, so the first thing that I want to say that is positive about this game, I like its general art style. It is a game that
Ooh.
occasionally you will get a bit of a closer look at it, and you can kind of see that it's fuzzy. Things are not as clean as they look, but when it pulls back like this, it looks pretty clear.
Yeah, you can see that there's like a little like right here, you can see like grain, and then like where that ledge is on the left, you can see some of the noise filter. But I
Yeah,
also really like this rat running in the foreground. Like that's very cool.
yeah. One thing I really want to compliment with this game are the animations, particularly the stuff that the cub does. Uh, the cub is a feral child, and they have some very animalistic things, like that wolf howl. Like I think that there are a lot of really nice touches throughout this game on like some of the art and animations.
How does jump feel? Does it feel heavy, if that makes sense?
The jump feels good. Here's what doesn't feel good. There's a lot of. So this game was made, and I'm not going to quite directly quote it because I didn't write it down, but it was made to emulate the Disney platformers of the SNES and Sega generation. So that is things like Aladdin, The Jungle Book, and
Lion King.
Lion King. Yeah. And if you ever played any of those games, I think the thing that you will remember is that like the platforming felt unique, but saying it felt good is maybe a little bit of a stretch. You will see me later doing these like jumps with tree branches where you grab and swing, where the hitbox is really unclear as to where you need to be to grab something.
Like a giraffe's head.
Yeah, exactly. I will say that in general, the movement feels pretty good, pretty responsive. Things move the way that I want them to. It's just those little like specific points that never feel great.
Did you just smell his foot?
Yep. So this is the second of 3 games in what I believe is referred to as the Nostalgia series by Demagogue Studio. It might actually be the Radio Wasteland series, I think is what they call it. The first game was originally called Golf Club Wasteland, but now it is called Golf Club Nostalgia. And earlier this year, I mean, this game came out in January of this year, but recently they put out High Water. I'll connect stuff after we watch this intro video.
The days were hot. Fish died in the lake, plants yellowed, birds stopped singing. There was thunder, but no rain. You call this period the Great Ecological Catastrophe. I heard my mother's heartbeat as she carried me to Alphaville. People chased us. I remember her driving and bison running by. Then we reached the flooded city with refugees in rubber boats. Suddenly, I couldn't find Mama. I was scared and alone. I'll never know whether she died or abandoned me. I only remember the rockets leaving for Mars. That night, the fighting started. I ran deep into the forest. A she-wolf found me and raised me with her cubs. People who didn't make it into the rockets were dying in combat and from the mutating environment. But we, the orphans and animals, didn't fight. Instead, together we adapted to nature that grew out of the rubble. Many moons passed, and then one day, some humans returned. They called themselves Martians. They flew around, dressed in yellow. They went hunting and played golf. I would steal their golf balls for fun. It really upset them. Then one day, I found a dead Martian. I took off his helmet and put it on. There was music playing in it. After years of only speaking wolf, I listened to the Martian radio and learned human language again. After the group left, one full moon later, I was chasing a tasty bug when another spaceship with new Martians arrived. It soon became clear they were trouble.
Since now we've had a little bit of audio, give
Greetings,
me
all
a
you
sound
Texas
levels
citizen
check,
Martians
chat,
out there. You're
and
listening to Radio
let me know how
and
things are
Val,
sounding.
the show for those who miss a morning run in the park, slurping minestrone soup, sailing with the wind in their hair, singing in unison with thousands of people.
I feel like that they're building
or smelling the
a
coming rain. In other words,
sort
a
of
show for the
gaming
loneliest
universe,
of the
I guess.
Yes.
But like like the style of gameplay is, distinct from each other, but all within their same world.
Yeah. Every game plays different, but it is set in the same world, and one of the major connections is this radio station.
Oh,
And
cool.
it doesn't. One of my big problems with this game is that things just are because they want them to be. Like, the intro story makes no sense with how this child was a baby, but remembers all these things that were happening with his mother, and then, like, forgot how to speak English, but then learned how to speak English through listening to the radio. A radio station that is on Mars, by the way, but somehow incredibly aware of what is going on Earth, like down to kind of the minute or hour.
I like a Deus Ex Machina buffet.
It's like, I think that there are things that you can excuse, and I think that this bothered me quite a bit, but it was sort of a thing of like, alright, is this going to be enough to turn me away? And initially it was not. Eventually, it kind of will be one of the major factors. So Alphaville in the background, which is a major spot in this world's lore. I talked a little bit about Golf Club Wasteland, Golf Club Nostalgia, and that is a game where you, as a Martian, come back to Earth to play golf in the ruins of Earth. I can't get up there. So there are a lot of collectibles in this game. I don't remember what exactly all of them are, but some of them are like newspapers, which will give you background information about what happened in the world, which I think this might be one of them. Yeah, so renowned Alphaville Post investigate journalist is missing. And they all paint like really dark, grim world, very similar to our own. Hello, Robot Spacer. It also kind of gives you a bit of a
song I'm fairly
time.
certain resonates with many of us orphans of the world out here.
Then there are things like these, which are called burps.
Speaking of stuffy air, please don't attempt to open portal
And it's just
windows
you
to let some
eating
fresh
things
air.
and
It's
burping.
unbelievable that we have to mention this, but we're living in pressurized domes, people. Breathing recycled air is just the new normal. In totally unrelated news, the memorial of Baroness von Bullenshit will be held in private, and the family asks gold diggers and paparazzi to respectfully stay away from the funeral ceremony being held in the Section C cafeteria on deck 3 at 7 p.m. Dome time.
This is like definitely bringing
All right.
back
On with the show.
Lion King trauma, I think.
Yeah.
Like where like that guy just charges you down and there's not a whole lot of. You just got to keep moving.
Yeah, your hey Remy. Your verbs in this game are very small. Like you can kind of run, jump, crouch, slide, swing. That's sort of it. Which I do like. I don't think everything needs to have combat.
Mm-hmm.
I also like that when you go underground, your radio goes away.
Ooh, that is a good touch.
It is a really nice touch. But yeah, this is a thing where like I do think they have done a decent job of emulating those Disney afternoon cartoon movie games. But I have so many questions about why that was what they selected, because those games are kind of known for being a little janky, and that jank is still in this game.
Yeah, it's like it was like not like the punishment game, but it was like oh, like I'm gonna go to my friend's house and let's play like Donkey Kong Country, and they're like, nah, ding dong, we're playing Lion King.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, ah.
And I mean, like, as a kid, I really like those games. However, I will never try to cover up and say, like, this game did not have some major flaws.
Right.
Yep, so we've got another reference to ecological damage and the fact that, like, people in power are going to make a lot of attempts to avoid responsibility or taking care of the people. We've got a lot of books in this world, and they are kind of broken into two types. One is sort of a survival insurgency style, which I find really tedious, because that is not the way that, like, information about survival would be spread around. It's kind of like expecting a how-to guide to... Let's get this and get out of here.
That thing attacked you?
Yes. There are a lot of deaths in this game. So animals will attack you, they'll kill you, you can fall on spikes, you can fall to your death.
That was like hard to read. I couldn't tell if it was just like the foreground animation.
Yeah.
And it was like a neutral thing, or if it was like, but when it like reared up as you got closer, I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
Not friend-shaped.
Not friend-shaped. But the other set of books are books often written by people who would exist in our world, or do. So, like, there's an Elon Musk parallel, there's a Jeff Bezos parallel, and I'm not super impressed with any of them. They all feel kind of half-baked and just sort of... I don't know, it feels... I think the best way to think about this is that people summarize this game as if Tech Bros wrote a game about environmental collapse. They don't really understand the issue or how it's going to affect people, but they will still like talk about it and make jokes about it in ways that really undermine how it will actually work. So that is one of the animations I really like. You will find luxuries of the old world that have absolutely no use now, and the cub will just kind of look at it, scratch his butt, and then move on. And I really like that as a way of driving home. Like, hey, this stuff doesn't actually do anything. Are the Musk Bezos parallels on the positive side? They are not. They are critical, but it's... We will see some examples of it, and it feels very much like it would be in place in a South Park episode. too much.
Hello, my name is Bingy Gogo.
So this is something that the game got flack for, and I actually kind of like it. Some of the audio, the music is very weird. People talk about this babycore song, where it's just like children talking to a simple beat in the background and being like, this is really poorly made. But this is a thing that I like because it actually shows some attempt to create culture, which a lot of sci-fi games don't do. Like, culture just kind of stops when the story was written. But this game at least is willing to, like, it's not good, but they are at least willing to, died.
Oh, that's bad. Okay, note taken.
But they're at least willing to be like, hey, this is what we think would continue in an awful
at its
way.
finest. Child labor never sounded so sweet. On that note, it's time for another story. We're back right on open road and look forward to the long
Yeah, I think that this is a good example of why I don't like some of the narrative stuff in this game. We'll listen to it and unpack it, but I'm just kind of like, this just feels like a Grand Theft Auto ad.
Is the actual meaning of life. I'm serious. I tried to recreate that feeling here on Mars. So I took a Tesla City Delivery EVA for a spin on the Planitia plane, but it's like driving a janky VR simulation. It made me miss riding my motorcycle, my jogging, even more. At 35, for 30 days in the blistering heat of July, I took a 4,600-mile trip across America on my motorbike. We set off from California, we zigzagged up and down the country and covered 18 states all the way up to New York City, where I was to take over my father's company. During the trip, the biggest surprise for me was how much of my thinking was practical. Even banal, I just focused on staying alive at 70 miles an hour on two wheels with crazy winds buffeting me in all directions. So while my mind was this constant barrage of compulsive thoughts, those thoughts were generally practical. How do I get to that destination before dark? Am I drinking enough water? Am I hydrating? The bigger picture stuff of why am I doing this and what is life about anyway didn't come until later. We started the trip at the peak of California's infamous orange heat wave, and we rode it for 5 days in temperatures you wouldn't believe. Some mornings I'd have sweat dripping from my elbows before we even set off. My eyes hurt from the sun. Sometimes I'd wake up so sore I could barely move. My inner thighs had engine burn. And even though those closest to me actually didn't think I'd make it, I learned that I could physically overcome much more than I thought. So after that rite of passage, I knew I could take over the company. Instead of being an entitled little brat whose father would pay for her theatre career, I turned the company into a $1 trillion business. And now, here I am with my family on Mars, among the last representatives of humanity in the universe. But aside from this high-minded idealism, life has no meaning. Because of these damn EVA suits, there's no wind on the highway here. No open-air solitude that makes you feel one with the world like back on Earth. On Mars, even if you manage to get outside, you're still trapped in a bubble of your own stale air. No matter where you go, isolation clings to you. Unlike the open road, it's an experience of void, of wholeness.
Like low-hanging fruit.
There's no dancing
still
asphalt in the heat, and no neon-lit diners, and 2 a.m. omelets with green bell peppers and yellow cheddar with a side of burnt hash browns, greasy bacon and black coffee. Instead, there's this barren rock and strictly monitored oxygen levels in sterile domes. We live in bubbles within bubbles. I admire how far we've come and how resilient we are, but I wonder, maybe we're just born. Just like during my epic ride, we've mostly figured out the banal questions about water, food, and sanitation, and now the greater questions are looming. What are we really doing? What is our future? And what will the meaning of life be for my kids? At any rate, the point is, I miss my dream. That's all. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for taking us on that.
So yeah, that entire thing like starts off in a way that I think is kind of thoughtful and reflecting upon like the things that they lost having to leave Earth, and then it just kind of becomes like, yep, but I'm a owner of $1 trillion business and I miss my motorcycle.
Yeah.
It goes from like really thoughtful and like could mean something to meaning absolutely nothing. Also, I'm just now realizing that like this bug flapping we have heard the entire time, and it's really aggravating.
So we're getting a lot of like world building, storytelling with like the audio and the cub just randomly talking and telling how the cub came to be, I guess. But what specifically is our motivation? There's some bad guys, and are we just exploring because we're a kid and we live in nature?
So the cub told us in the beginning that he saw a juicy bug and wanted to eat it. He did kind of break the timeline and was like, all of this is being told in the past. But it is a thing where like the cub was like, I went looking for a juicy bug and then I found some Martians. And the Martians were real jerks, and so I'm like, alright, well let's go find Martians. And I think that in some way is the justification for like having the bug guide you forward. Great, I'm dead. But also, like, it's a side scroller. Like, I don't think that you need to explain to people, even people who are new to video games, like, hey, you just need to go to the right.
Yeah. The Lion King had a bug person thing, right? That pulled you through?
It had bugs that you had to chase, and I believe they gave you health and maybe more
Or there wasn't
points.
persist. I can't remember.
Yeah, like, I don't think that the following the bug is a bad thing. It's just a little confusing because you have been given so much so fast.
Yeah. Is this the juicy bug we're after?
Yes. And I will say that, like, right here, you are seeing some of the platforming things that I have issues with. It took me 2 or 3 tries to get here. Let's check out this. I guess the other thing is that, like, the books sometimes will be something that actually exists in our world with a quote that is important. Although I'm really curious if this line is actually in the book, because wolves don't live in jungles. Which, I mean, I don't know if Rudyard Kipling knew that, but like,
Wait, referring to the pet. Okay, I got it.
I mean, it also is a thing that like makes sense because this is very like Jungle Book coded, even if we were not.
It is in the Jungle Book.
Okay. We'll find a bunch of little emails, which again just kind of fill in the background of what was going on, and sometimes it's very specific, like between 2 people. Sometimes it's a lot broader, talking about a movement and what is going on in the movement.
Yeah. It reminds me of Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh, yeah.
Like, not a platformer. But it had a bunch of like documentation and things you could collect from the past or like recordings. And I enjoyed it, but also found it tedious after a while because I'm like, you can like visit in the first game, visit like Red Rocks, and then they're like, people must have come here, and it's like, yeah, I get it. Like, not like, I think hand holding in video games is very difficult because you do need to show the player how your game communicates. But I think like narratively, I feel like you should give your players more credit.
Mm-hmm.
But like understanding your world and like environment and the physics and stuff, that's one thing. But when it's just like we're gonna have some George Orwell here too, like what?
I don't remember, but I do feel like George Orwell might show up.
Yeah.
And this is another example of like how the writers approach this content of like this magazine's name is Architectural Diarrhea, and it's talking about the modern cabin in the woods and vlogging celebrity homes,
Some
and
music to meditate, mediate, and
there are
procreate.
things there that are worth critiquing, and I feel like that is just one of the most inane ways to
The eight of omens, of course. Pure calm
critique it.
in a can.
I don't remember. Okay. Yep. Boo. Okay, can't slide under. I gotta go over. Yeah, it's very on the nose. And then there's weird stuff like this, which is never explained, which I think is fine, but I'm also kind of like, man, this is the stuff I want to know about. I want to know about how the world has changed. Like, the Martians have to wear a suit, an environmental space suit,
Yeah.
to be here.
And there's clearly like weird, like the rocks were just floating, and there's like some weird things that are definitely like those bug things, like those aren't on Earth. These
Yeah.
bison, their horns glow. Tell me more about this.
Well, they also talk about how the cub can live here without a spacesuit. Like, that happened in one generation. How? Why? And it's like, it just becomes another thing that is a compounding point of frustration for me, where eventually I have to be like, so little is explained here, and I just have to accept
Yeah.
so much that I don't. I do like this environmental storytelling
Yeah.
with skeletons.
When you were running up here, I really like the way the helmet bobs on his head back and forth.
Yeah, it's very good.
Which like I find the helmet annoying because when he goes in water, like how is it not filling with water and getting ruined? But it's cool. Ooh.
Yeah, that's a thing I'll let float. Title drop.
And scene.
I still feel sick. You're just adjusting to the gravity. Isn't it beautiful? We have so much to discover. Let's walk around. A game of golf, maybe? Sure. Bet a month's supply of water?
I crouched near 3 members of your Martian expedition. The rest of your group were out in the field. I hoped to make friends, but when you saw me, you froze.
I have to go AFK just briefly
Stopped
for
picking plants and
a bean
whispered among
emergency.
yourselves.
Well, not emergency.
You seemed
Fiasco.
very scared
Take care of the
and
bean.
confused, amazed that I could breathe without a suit. You rushed towards me, so I ran. You really thought you could hunt me down?
Impossible. It's Richards from the last expedition. How's it breathing without gear? We have to catch it and find out. Where did it go? Into the mine! Quick! After it!
Hello,
to
all you
think how it
Martians out
starts
there. It's
now.
time for another round of radio nostalgia from Mars. Tusol's episode is an energetic tour de force of nostalgia from the good old days. Buckle up, buckle down, and enjoy.
There we go. So pretty soon we will start doing some of the chase scenes, which are the main I don't know, like, I want to say dangerous, but I'm also just kind of like, everything here will kill you. But it's the main interactions between you and the Martians. Each one has their own unique gimmick. None of them are particularly threatening or that interesting. Take that off. It's just kind of another way to explore or have like the Martians interact with the cub. Back up here.
Okay, sorry about that.
You're good. We are
And
currently.
Veda goes a running with no pants on. It can be disastrous.
Oh no. We are currently surfing underground.
Cool. Yeah, there's a lot more bioluminescence and like jelly-like substances that I would like to know more, please and thank you, world. What?
Yeah, this luxury makes less sense to me. I think that it is supposed to be some sort of like rare gem, like I don't know, a diamond, I guess, but it doesn't quite land for me the same way that all of the gold lands, and there are some other luxuries, but
Yeah, it just kind of reads like a quartz.
quartz are like maybe even just something really new and unique to this environment, which I'm kind of like, that would be a cool thing to find.
That's a cool platforming thing.
Yeah, I like that moment. You can actually ride it down and grab some of the chains to head back the way we came.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't really do anything, but I just like the fact that they put it in there. I think if there's a collectible over here. Fair enough.
Sure.
There's also this structure in the background, which I have seen in at least 2 of their games. I have no idea what it is. I don't know what it means, but it is a recurring location in
the distance always, or?
I've never gotten close to it. I will also say that of the 3 games that they have put out, this one is the one I've played the most of. So yeah, I was telling chat that like we are now at the point where we have occasional we have occasional chase scenes with the Martians where they will be a threat to us.
You know, when I see a child, I immediately want to attack them.
So they want the cub because the cub can breathe on this planet and be fine. And they want to figure out why that is.
So it's like a Last of Us thing, except we don't have a faux dad.
Sure.
I don't know anything about The Last of Us.
Yeah, so like this is Karl May, which is clearly a knock on Karl Marx, which I just, again, I'm like, if this is supposed to be our world, we already have Karl Marx. Like, we already have people who are thinking about labor and how capital and power are used.
I think, isn't Karl Marx even in like a fighting game? Like, as Karl Marx?
Probably. There's a...
Because I was just like, maybe it's like a rights thing?
Maybe? I don't know.
Karl Marx in the Ring of Communism. You play as Karl Marx.
You got your minecart level from, I believe, Aladdin. I know we missed some things down below in the water because I wanted to listen to the radio, but I'm trying to remember where all the stuff is. Huh?
I think having the death animation is an interesting thing. Unless it's like a load screen to go back to like the previous save.
Yeah.
Because it just seems so like, other than the intro story where he was explaining his life, it doesn't fit. At least for my brain.
I feel like it fits aesthetically. And that's kind of where it... God. That's kind of where it ends. Because it is a little weird to have it after we see that be the thing that happens to the cub.
I wonder if it's just how they built it and it's like the load.
I think that you're probably right. There are a lot of gnarly deaths in this game, but none of them are... Like, I don't know, I came off playing Bramble. No.
Oh no, you had it!
I came off playing Bramble a while ago, which is a really good game, but it has a bunch of ways for children to die that are pretty rough. And I feel like a combination of the art style and... I'm just gonna drop... I do kind of wonder if, like, maybe it's a combination of it's a loading screen and we want to, like, take off the fact that this child just, like, got impaled on a bunch of spikes. Yeah, Bramble's good. So we've seen a few newspapers now. And I want to ask, have you noticed anything about the newspapers?
The illustrations?
Yeah.
Or the photographs?
I'm pretty sure all of their photographs are AI-generated art. Which is
they do
really...
They have like that like like the... Why is there a watercolor filter to like make it look like it's made?
Yeah. I think that there are some that make it more clear than others. Let me... But, like, that's not food. And I get that part of it is, oh, it's GMO, but I'm like, that looks really AI generated to me. That looks incredibly AI generated to me. And this kind of goes back to what I was talking about like them having issues with things like the distribution of wealth and workers' rights and people's rights and pollution and environmental collapse, and you're using AI-generated art, a thing that requires a ton of energy and produces a massive carbon footprint for something that, like, I think that I've never seen anybody talk about this in any of their reviews or discussions, and I'm just like, I get that it would take time to make art for this, but it doesn't have to be good. It could be fuzzy. It could be...
you could also just, like, take images and make your own collage and then put distortion and grain. Like, you could...
Exactly.
Because, like, you're already cultivating a vibe that's already, like... I don't know.
Yeah, it's just so frustrating. Like, there is a... I don't even want to say, like, dark humor. It's just, like... It's cynical. Like, earlier when we were listening to the Babycore song, towards the end, I don't know if you heard it, but the DJ was like, yes, late stage capitalism at its finest before our children go off and start working. And like, they are trying to raise really important issues, but it doesn't do anything with it. It just points at it and is like, well, that's messed up anyway. Yeah. And I'm just like, all right, so you clearly haven't thought about these things. Like, that was the same problem that I had with Golf Club Nostalgia, which is you as a Martian coming back to Earth to play golf in the ruins of buildings on Earth. Like, it's a really cool idea because golf is this thing for, typically it's perceived as like rich people, and it takes up a ton of land and a ton of resources to take care of a golf course. And so it kind of makes sense that after ecological collapse, one of the first things that people would do when they come back is be like, I'm going to build a golf course here. But it's just like so uncaring and cynical about it. Yeah, it's just wild to me that I haven't seen anybody bring this stuff up. Because I don't know. There are little things that I can kind of let slide, like the fact that Alphavillian is how they refer to people who lived in Alphaville, which is the bougie, like, people with money, like, guarded by a military town before...
This game came out... Sorry, that was me struggling to say words. This game came out this year?
Yes, January 2024.
Do we know how long it was in development?
I don't have notes on when Golf Club Nostalgia came out, but I want to say it was like a year ago or so. I don't know. And it's also a thing where, like, okay, so this game came out in January. High Water, which is their next game, came out in March. So I do believe that they have two teams working on these games, because they're not particularly long games. I do think that they make good use of reusing their assets. I don't know, but I'm like, God, look at this.
When you mentioned the Alphavillian, I was just looking at the text, and I was just like, when did this game come out, and how long was, like, the chat GPTs available? Because, like, the Carl May and Alphavillian, like, just feels like someone gave prompts to AI generated for, like, story.
I'm going to be honest. I don't think it's that, because I looked at their dev team.
Yeah.
And they do not have a set writer.
A prompter.
They do not have anybody who is identified as like a lead writer or even a writer. They have a creative lead, which I assume is the person who wrote for this. I think that this is probably a group of artists and programmers who are just like, we can write our own story, and I'm just kind of like, man, I don't think you can. I think it's harder than you think.
Yeah, because it's a weird spot to be like, cool, like, yeah, I get it. Like, Jeff Bozo, the Jungle Book quotes. I get it. But also, like, not sticking the landing, too. We're just kind of, like, pointing to the thing. I'm also like, I guess I get it. It just leaves me waffling a lot, I guess.
Yeah, like, some of the stuff I can be like, all right, this is fine. Like the idea of Alphavillian being,
as you may well know,
if you switch the last A and I, it's just Alphavillian. They're like, all right, I get it. I don't think that's good writing. It's perfectly fine. It works. I don't know. It's kind of hard for me when, like, they are talking about real issues that we are currently facing to be like, it's them having sort of a flippant attitude towards it, and expecting me to be like, yeah, this is good writing. Like, no, there are people who are actually, like, writing stories about what it means to live under the boot of fascism, like fictitious books about living in a world post-ecological collapse.
Work hard, play hard, keep up the morale. He won't stop until we make Mars the best it can be.
I think this is
It is
probably...
beautiful though, like the
Yeah.
assets and like the filters that they do.
Yeah, and like, I think that's kind of why I want to, oh, please keep moving, talk about the things that I do like, is that, like, I don't think that this game is a void of talent, or...
Oh no, yeah.
I wouldn't recommend buying this game, but, like, if you bought it, I wouldn't blame you. Like, it's not the worst game I've ever played. It has a ton of flaws, but, like, I can see somebody saying, like, yeah, I had a lot of fun with this game, and be like, alright, I get it.
ran, avoiding the nets. The same ones you used on my wolf brothers and sisters. This whole hunt was for so-called research purposes, to see if humans could return here one day. But even with jetpacks, you still couldn't navigate our new terrain. I am a nimble earthling, while you need so much gear just to stay alive.
Hate the voice though.
I think the voice is fine.
I think maybe it's just kids. Maybe I don't
Yeah.
like kids.
This is a little thing, but, like, they always portray the Martians as really fat, which I have an issue with. Like, I get that they are trying to convey that they have been living luxuriously and not taking care of themselves, but I hate making villains fat just because it's an easy way for you to,
Yeah.
like, hijack cultural meaning. I'm sorry, I have not been reading these because I'm sipping water.
I also find it interesting how the background
Welcome back, all you Martians out there.
isn't
You're
that
tuned to
much
Tesla
of a
City's
light
#1
shift
radio station
and like
for
palette
music,
shift as
stories,
it goes
news,
back on
and
those like
views related
parallax
to
layers.
Earth,
Usually like
reminding us all that
they become
even
more
here on
muted
Mars,
and
one fact
lighter
remains. We still
or
circle
grayer,
around
right?
the
Or bluer,
same
you know,
sun.
like to kind of do that like what's the horizon perspective haze. My brain is spacing on what it actually is called.
I don't know. I didn't notice that, but that's a really good point.
But it like the way they do it though makes it feel like the landscape's far denser. Like there's not this like vast vistas or anything. Like the way it drops and the color shift like does kind of give it this like otherworldly or post-apocalyptic kind of vibe. But like here we have like land, which is like we haven't seen much of, but we still have like the city and it's like the depth of field it very much feels like you could run to there instead of like,
Yeah.
you know, the castle way off in the distance that you know that like maybe that's the final boss. Like this feels a lot closer, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have any of the words to talk about that. I'm not an artist, but I agree with you. I think that the backgrounds always look really good. Here's our giraffe.
Weird perspective. Sorry, I've got it. We made it.
We can pet the giraffe.
Good, that's good. And you should get an achievement for that game.
You might.
Oh, but you've
As
already
I've said, I've already finished this game, so maybe I got an achievement there. This section's kind of easy, and because we're doing story stuff, I think I want to talk about my brief experience with High Water and how I felt about it, because I wrote roughly what happened and my thoughts on it. And I think that it will, like, I don't want to say illuminate, because I think it's pretty clear by now, but I think it'll reinforce why I have these views on this game. Dang it.
Damn, that's rude. That snake was also rude.
It's not great. They force you to move. But High Water is I'm not quite sure how to talk about it. I likened it to Kentucky. Oh no, I likened it to Kentucky Route Zero because part of it is you navigating through the flooded streets. Like, I think that this one is the earliest in the trilogy. I don't think the rockets have taken off for Mars yet, and you are trying to get to Alphaville to possibly get a seat on the rockets to go to Mars. But you are navigating the flooded city streets in your boat. And occasionally you will get out and talk to people, and you will do combat on a sort of turn basis in a tactical format. Like it'll...
Okay.
I forget if I need to do this. This seems bad. But the game starts off... Crud. Everything's good. Yep. About a poison green
The
tech.
Complete Insurgent's Guide. Yes.
Yeah, because you're going to get that published. But the game starts off with you going to a friend's place to get supplies so that you can make the trip to Alphaville. And you find a man trying to steal your supplies. And so you beat him, either unconscious or to death. It is never made clear which one happened. And then you leave. And as you are leaving, your boat's motor runs out of gas, so you decide to stop at one of these little islands, because sometimes you can find an Alphavillian
A
there.
friendly reminder, anyone attempting to opt out
Yeah,
of their
just like
randomly
this stuff's
assigned
AI.
marshing duties will have their water privileges reduced, and anyone paying a proxy to fill in...
Unfortunately,
will be
you do find an
excluded from all
Alphavillian
other
there.
activities
They are
for martial
incredibly
money.
drunk
As much money as
and
they think
preparing
they
to set
will.
themselves on fire.
Then do it with the boss.
And you have to stop them, not because you are worried about them setting themselves on fire, but because you want the gasoline they are using to power your boat. So you knock them out, kind of. You just, like, push them away. And then they're like, alright, fine. Can you get me back to Alphaville? I have a family there. And you're like, yeah, okay, fine. So you go ahead and you go to another area. You explore and you find out that, like, your friend is there at a wedding. And you want him to come with you, but he is not coming until they get food, because there's a wedding and there's no food, is what he tells you. So then you go find a butcher who has a sheep. And he makes it very clear that, like, he's not giving you this sheep. It is his pet sheep. Nobody is getting it. He doesn't care that people want to buy it or eat it. You end up trapping him. You take his sheep. You go back to the wedding. They give you cake, which I will point out is food. And then you get to leave. So you go back to your boat. Your friend finds the drunk Alphavillian in your boat and throws them out into the water. And you say, hey, that person, like, he's drunk, he's going to drown. Your friend says, no, he won't. And you just say, okay, and you keep going. And that's the point where I was just like, this story... There's no working together. There's no attempt to... like, the entire thing is just, fuck you, got mine. And it's so aggravating that, like, even the messages around what you should do at this point, like, there's no attempt to build community. It's just survive. Do not care about other people. You just need to make it out. Which, for me, is so frustrating because that is not how you survive. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, their website's beautiful.
Yeah, again, I think that these people are artists and programmers, and I think that they're probably pretty talented at those things. I like the art. The game runs mostly fine. I just would like them to hire some writers and stop using AI art. And, like, I think that they could be a really good studio that tries to tackle some difficult issues. Maybe not always well, but I don't know if they used AI for the writing. I'm going to say that they didn't, because it feels coherent enough to me. And it just feels... Oh no, I got tranked. It just feels like somebody who hasn't fully thought about the issues that they are saying they're passionate about.
They're on their website it says approach. Our approach to original IPs entails A, a sharp idea about modern life. B, storytelling with engaging characters. C, rich world building. D, stories told through non-linear media with focus on gaming. We call this approach constellation storytelling. I would say rich world building.
Yeah, I think that it is kind of sloppy and their timeline doesn't really work, but, like, it spans. Like, it's...
Yeah. I think it's funny that it leaves, like, this is me being a little spicy,
I
leads with
ran
a
around
sharp
after that.
idea about modern life.
There's
After-
also... Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, just on their website, they have, like, information and or, like, above, like, their approach or whatever, and they have some quotes, and one is from Marcel Duchamp, and art is a game between all people of all periods. So, like,
Oh yeah, it's time for another episode of
I mean,
Radio Nostalgia
this
from
just tells me,
Mars.
like, you are
Any soul
educated.
now, we're hoping to hear from our intrepid
And
Earth explorers who
maybe
are currently working hard right now collecting botanical,
somebody
animal, and
just had a really
geological
powerful
samples
argument
to test the viability
and a
of us
marketing
returning back
degree
to Earth in the near
and didn't
future.
want to make any
I do
real
hope they
stance
have
on
time to catch
anything,
a
but,
breath
like, wanted to
with all
point
that
to
hard work
ideas.
they're
Like, that's
doing
what I
for
think.
us.
Also, that is absolutely an AI image. Look at it.
Yeah. I'm not going to pull it back up. I think we've driven the point home. I don't know. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I just think that they are partway there. Like, the other thing about somebody being educated is that, like, I have a PhD. I know people who have PhDs who are not smart.
Yeah. But it's like, I mean, by, like, educated, like, they probably were in grad school and definitely took some philosophy courses
Sure.
and are, like, quote, educated.
I'm proud.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, you had two really critical thinking courses and that, like, shaped the way you perceive your processing of the world around you.
Yeah.
Note on how you perceive your processing.
Yeah. Pigeon drone here.
I thought it was a giant crab.
I mean, it could be. It's crabs all the way down eventually.
Tell me about it.
I will say, we haven't talked a whole lot because we haven't had a lot of games that do collectathon stuff. Oh no. I do think that this does collectathon stuff in a really smart and fun way, where you have the stuff that, like, lets you in on the story and the world, and then you just have stuff that's, like, feels good to get. Like, the burps don't do anything for you, but they're fun to find. Finding the bears that you get to hug, it's fun to find.
Yeah.
It's, like, I think that this is a really good example of either healthy or effective collectathons.
MCAIT there.
That's really wild. I have never been caught while just running
An
forward.
track called Run, Cub, Run. Not enough space up here for that.
I do.
But
They have like
Volplex with
these
the
really
Sun do
nice
provide
highlights,
basic
and
training
for the most
simulation
part, I've been
facilities.
like,
So
oh,
why not
like
drop by for
they
a
don't
virtual
always
run and
use
update your bone
the
density
cliche
shots while you're
yellow
there?
to show you where to jump.
It must be beautiful, exhilarating.
But then there's been other
Run
times
to
where
be
I'm like,
back on Earth.
ooh, like I actually
I'm
like.
pretty sure some of our fearless leaders are tuned into
Since I'm not the one playing,
so
sometimes they're
guys,
moving
when you
faster
have a
than I'm
moment, please share
perceiving.
your impressions down there
And I'm
with
like,
all of
oh,
us
like I
up here
didn't,
on Mars.
I wouldn't have known where to go in
Radio
that
Nostalgia for
moment
Mars,
as I'm being
the
chased.
best channel for Earth.
Like
Yeah,
I would
I-
have just jumped to my death to figure out what it is, you know? And
I
I hate trial by fire in that regard.
think that that's kind of a Disney platformer thing.
Oh, absolutely.
I feel like most of the Disney platformer games that I played were on Game Gear, and that game did not, like those games had really small screens, and so you absolutely took leaps of faith just all the dang time.
And it's also interesting to like, I think the readability of this game is definitely better than those games, but like, we have what, 2-3 decades of understanding player habits and like the way players learn as they play. So like, you could still make something that's inspired by those like Saturday morning cartoon-esque platformers, you know?
Yes.
Whatever you want to call it, but still have it like have the understanding and appeal for like more modern gameplay wants and needs.
Yes.
But like, I mean, that's like an interesting, you know, concession, right? That like those conversations are key. Like, what makes and breaks the vision for you? Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Every clue told me a different story, but each pointed to one thing: murder.
Remy, I'm not sure. Can you tell me what some of the Lost in Blues series is? Analytica, reference to the Cambridge Analytica scandal. Let's give our boy some cold brew. Some incredibly expired cold brew. Oh, were they the survival games where like you are in some sort of boat crash and then you are on an island and have to survive? Yes. Those games did not work well with my brain, but I always thought that they were incredibly cool. I should go back to them.
I immediately went to the Wikipedia.
Yeah, I really wanted to like those games because I love survival games. It just, they never took.
Did someone make one for PC?
Maybe.
Or maybe it's
Your
just a
Martian
mock-up
tail
on
was getting
searches.
tired. You
Terrifying.
should have realized Earth was not your planet anymore. This wasn't the homecoming you were expecting at all. Enraged, only the captain went on with the pursuit.
I think
For
the
him,
voice
this
bothers me
turned
because it
into an
reminds me
obsessive
of
safari.
like
But
Dexter's
he was also
Laboratory
exhausting himself
a little bit,
as
but
I
like
lured
less
him
Yeah.
cheesy.
deeper into the forest.
I see it, hear it, smell it.
But it's
whatever.
like they had a Dexter voice knob, and they like instead of going all the way up to 10, they did like a 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So like the inflection is similar.
Nah. Nah, 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 nah.
That jetpack is so large.
Yeah.
40% Dexter.
I'm not going to search the bottom. I think we're just going to start at the top.
I feel like this game is really rude right now because the way that they have interjected large creatures as like very hard to avoid if triggered, and then you have me jump in the water, that seems scary.
Yeah. So I think that this is a reference to High Water.
Nightbot's being a cop.
Get out of here. Do I need to do something, or is it good?
It's fine. I don't.
Okay.
Part of me was gonna ban Nightbot, but I don't know. I banned
Yeah.
Nightbot. Like that.
Please don't. I don't like it, but I'm also just like, man, I'm starting to use you for content warnings because I just played Psychroma, and that game,
Yeah, absolutely.
that game's got some stuff I need to warn people about. Yeah, here's a reference to Muscovich, which is Elon Musk. Peter Thiel. There's a reference to Peter Thiel.
Torpedo Man. I came through the time warp and the multiverse to help you fight turbo tornadoes.
Tornadoes.
What are you doing here? You invited him.
God, I think that's maybe the most dystopic thing of all, that at the end times Marvel movies will still play.
Yeah. I feel bad for all of the aliens out there who are gonna, like, catch our radio signals and be like, oh, this is interesting, and then just suddenly there's gonna be a wave of Marvel films, and they won't get the, oh my gosh, we're so sorry, until like 40 years later.
Mm-hmm.
This is another thing of, like, using social media and social platforms has, like, kind of recently become a hot thing of, like, we need to ban these things because it causes depression in our youth. And that's really frustrating because the research is like, well, part of it is that young people go to social media because they are depressed and not the other way around.
It's just the guys, right? Like, really, they're against social media because it in fact brings people together, and we're weaker when we can't contact each other. You know.
I mean, I think that there's several reasons. I think that it's confusing for the older generation. Mm-hmm. And, like, it's not that there aren't problems with social media, but I'm also just like, you know, it creates ways for minority groups to be able to get together. Like, I found a bunch of people when I was on Something Awful that were really important to me and, like, helped me. Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. Like,
mm-hmm.
It's hard to say that this thing is, like, purely evil, and, like, the bigger thing is we have to work together as a society, as friends, as family, to, like, build a better world for people who are struggling, so that if they do start using social media in ways that are unhealthy, like, we can address that.
Yeah, there's our town, like, I'm not on Facebook, but our town has like a town Facebook page that's like outside of like the government one, you know, like welcome to town. But it's like it's a hot mess, but it's also like really beautiful. My partner's on it, and a few weeks ago, someone was like, "Hey, like they were like 65 or something, and they're like, I had like a stroke or a heart attack a long time ago, and I've been you know, recovering and everything, but in that time my driver's license expired, so I have to go take a driving test. But unfortunately I don't have a car. Like, does anyone have any like what would be maybe like any recommendations of the path I should take, you know, like to rent a car or do whatever?" And so many people were like, "Where are you? We'll come pick you up and you can like drive our car for your test."
Yeah,
Or
that's rad.
or there was a story that when I first met my partner, maybe this is the story for which we fell in love. But I learned about Mr. Mafia, which was somebody's tortoise that they had for years,
Yo, let's go.
and someone stole it from their yard, and Mr. Mafia disappeared, and there was a full-on search through the whole city for Mr. Mafia, and someone found Mr. Mafia miles away from town, but the whole town banded together to reunite Mr. Mafia, and they're like best friend.
Aww.
I know. But then there's like other shit where like people share things and then everyone's like, "You're an idiot. Why would you do that?" But there's so many like really beautiful moments of like people sharing like their victories or like struggle, like they lost power and their laundry doesn't work and people are like, "Cool, just come to my place and do laundry. I don't care." Like offerings that I would not consider would be like so available. And that's kind of redeemed part of humanity to me. Not fully, but
no, I get it.
There are good out there.
Definitely.
People get so mad about literally anything.
Yeah, it's wild. I have family members who will get mad over the smallest stuff, and I'm just like, number one, you're good. Number two, is this really how you want to spend your time? Being mad about this thing that does not really impact you.
Yeah. I hate when they tell me to boil my own water so I don't poop myself. Hate it.
Every few years, you gotta poop yourself. It keeps you humble.
It's so true. On Secret Crush is putting Baby Core in the Discord chat now.
Oh no!
Baby Core!
What have I done?
I feel like I've had to do that everywhere I've lived for different reasons over time. Sometimes it do be like that. I mean, Arctic paths cleared for transit. I feel like that's a flood because the ice caps are gone, baby. That's a weird perspective.
Yep.
The more I watch this, the more beautiful I find this game on Secret Crush. What did you do? You've been timed out for 600 seconds.
Alright, I gotta address that. I'm tired of this.
One lady was like, "I just drank 3 glasses of water before the notice." Oh my god. Well, she's gonna poop herself. This part makes me think of Katy Perry. The song Firework. Oh, you can really see the noise filter here, too. That's cool. But here, like, how are you supposed to know where to drop? You don't know what's under you.
I think everything is probably safe, but it is...
You never know.
It's both like you never know, and also if you are searching for something, Like, if you were looking for all the books or something like that, you kind of want to know where to look. Also, my man's got Earth Madness.
All right. So he wants to do a murder now.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to revoke
Go
some
boil some
privileges
water.
from Nightbot. I really like this song, and I want to know what language this is.
Does anyone have Shazam?
I can look it up afterwards. In part because I'm worried that I'm going to find something out, and I'm going to be like, alright, so I have to tell you more about this game that is not positive.
Interesting.
I took the captain's helmet. Together with my wolf brothers and sisters, we ate the Martian. Bruised and tired, but with a full stomach. I went on. I found myself in an industrial area when I saw a tiny spaceship crash land in the distance. Eventually, I would meet the lonely Martian that came out of that spaceship.
I think, okay.
Greetings, Radio Nostalgia from Mars fans. As you, our loyal listeners, already know, our friends on Earth are examining all the possibilities for establishing a base there to study changes to the planet and investigate.
I keep being like, why is there so much electricity?
Yeah, that's a thing that I don't like, but I'm willing to let slide.
Yeah, well, my brain is like, well, if they're trying to reestablish it and there's like an active power grid, might as well have it on so you can like charge your shit, I guess.
That
Like my
makes
brain
sense.
can but I think this game does a lot like really well or like beautifully. And then I think the parts where they're like doing I think that the stuff that they're trying to do the heavy lifting with their like story and like whatever, I'm just like, no, just like let me be the cub and let me explore this thing and get the bug. Like I don't need the rest of this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need the Musk. I don't need nothing. Just let me be a kid in a dystopian future who just wants this dang bug, and I'm like content. Even based off of games that are defaultly mean, you know what I mean? Like,
Well,
I'd be fine.
So I was trying to come up with things about the Disney platformer genre to talk about and compare to. Because I do, you know, we've done Crow Country, we've done Lunacid, and we've been able to tie back a lot of the games that those were inspired by like the mechanics, camera use, colors, a whole lot of different things. And I was just kind of like, I don't know how much I can talk about 3 games, even though they are they're a fairly distinct genre. But one of the things is,
when they brought back the Lion King, they did like didn't they do like a remaster recently? I can't remember.
Yes, so there is a remaster, and then there is DLC, which it adds more games because it was put out on 3 systems, I think.
Oh yeah, the Disney Classic Games Collection from Disney.
Yeah.
Digital Eclipse, Lion King, Aladdin, and Jungle Book, baby.
Yeah, and like each version is slightly different than the previous. But one of the things that stands out for this genre is that none of those games really tell you a story, because they expect you to watch the movie to get the story. And this game just like refuses to not tell you the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the AI zone. These are the AIs that have been drawing all those little doodles. Got a little robot buddy here.
Cool.
Working hard or hardly working, am I right?
I like that he said when you said that. That's very
Yeah.
good.
I get it.
But like, even like these stark environments, like seeing like that flat steel with the arrows, like, or where you are right now, you can see like brush pattern. Like there's still like a
Yes.
texture there, and it's not just flat and it's not lifeless. Like there's so much beautiful shit in this, and it makes me mad. And I'm not even playing it.
Yeah. It's
Also, I feel like watching you play this, I can feel how it feels, if that makes sense. I think, like, I feel like some games when you watch it, like it seems very floaty or it feels way heavier than it actually is while you're playing it. And this seems like, I don't know. Like I'm noticing that working on the Skeleton King, where like dialing in the jump, I'm like, this doesn't feel right. This, like, it's whatever, you know. But like the motion, like my playing is the same every time to hit the jumps. But this feels like, I don't know how to explain it, but it feels like it looks like it feels the way it looks.
I think that the game, how do I want to say this? I think that the game controls fine.
It feels a little heavy, like clunky, but like that's of the style, the genre that it's trying to evoke, I feel like.
There is
Like-
some stuff. So part of the reason that it
Seems
might
bad.
look better when I play it is that I have like 5 hours in this game because I've already beaten it
that's
once. And let me tell you, I died a lot. So I do kind of think that there is a certain amount of this looking good just being the fact that I have spent a lot of time with
You
the
put the
controls.
time in, yeah.
Again, I don't think these controls are bad. I just think that they are flawed and could be better.
He has a way, like I always, my brain immediately goes to Shovel Knight with any platforming, being that it is a modern, like retro-inspired title, but it's very responsive, even though there's not a lot of complexity. Like there's no double jump. I think that you have a suit that you can equip that has a double jump. But this definitely feels like he lands heavier. Like it literally makes me think of Simba.
Yeah, well, like you've
Like if you
seen,
jump, you have to land and recover, and then you can jump again. You can't be like boop boop.
yeah, if you just land from up high, you have an impact, but you can roll or do a last minute double jump to get out of that. So a lot of that is just like me adjusting for the systems and how they work. But again, that's somebody who has had a lot of time and it's just like,
Cool.
I don't like impact. Yeah, I think
Of all the places we meet here,
Why is it like Casablanca?
there's a bunch of different genres. Like there's a telenovela, there's the Marvel movies.
Or there
I think
was
that they
one.
just want iconic things.
Damn.
I guess I would just say that, like, if... Nah, this is bad. if Demagog Studios decided to do another platformer, I think that this setup would be a great place to start. But I would also be like, you really need to refine these controls.
Yeah.
And some art, like, make some of the animation for what is the thing that you need to be aiming for a bit more clear. But, like, this is super solid. If this were a project that was put out by, like, 1 to 3 people...
Oh my god! I'm so stressed!
Nah, it's good. We're good.
But that was cool. Like, it clearly was supposed to be at that distance, right? To create that emotion.
Like, there's nothing I can do here. It's completely scripted, but it feels very tense.
It's smart too that like you lose control in that moment, like behind a wall. So like you're not like goofed by the change of animation from like if you were like half jumping, you know what I mean? Like that's smart.
Yeah, they use obfuscation to transition to another scene really well.
Mm-hmm.
I went too soon. We did it. Defeated the AI. We got the big screws.
Do we need them?
No, it's just a fun little bonus.
Great. I love a treat.
Okay, that's at 4 grand. The Buffalo Friends.
All right.
Yeah, this way. Yes, you are allowed to be free, and I apologize for Nightbot's actions.
The Martian from the crash ship was different from you. He was alone, and he flew and walked slowly. He would sit in one spot for a long time, and then curl up and sleep right there in the open. When I finally approached him, he didn't try to chase me. He took off his helmet and extended his open hand. So Charlie and I became friends. Charlie told me stories about Earth before the great ecological catastrophe, about his life in Alphaville, how he became a pilot for the mission to Mars. He didn't know anything about my mama. After years of guilt and sadness, Charlie felt he was finally home, although our mutant environment was slowly killing him. Charlie taught me to read biology, medicine, physics, history, literature. I devoured it all. I taught him to hunt. He taught me about machines. Oh, he also told me not to eat humans. I showed him how to communicate with animals. We spent a lot of time in the ASA building, the place where his rocket launched during the evacuation to Mars. It brought up so many memories. Then one day, an old drone spotted us flying around and attacked us.
Uh-oh. I feel like Charlie ain't gonna last long, and that's a bummer.
Yeah.
Lock is cruise control for awesome. Sir, why did you leave your wife? Let's talk about that. Charlie, you're bumming me out, man.
Radio nostalgia from Mars.
Greetings and salutations, all you Tesla City citizens
Yeah,
out
there's
there.
a bunch of weird stuff with
The
this.
talk of the town at the moment is that Charlie, our national hero, pilot of the Mars mission, has escaped in a private golf club wasteland shuttle belonging to our esteemed CEO. As of now, we haven't been able to make contact with Charlie, who seems to be roaming the rooms around Alphaville. Playing golf? It has been revealed that he has been severely depressed over the past few years whilst working as an Orinoco water delivery driver. We're hoping Charlie, who is a long-time listener of RNFM, will reach out to us. So Charlie, this is for you.
I'm actually going to get all these. I feel like we've, yeah, it's a letter from his wife. I feel like we've kind of driven home what these things are. We are getting close to wrapping up. This game isn't super long, so, like, I don't think we will come back to it. Because even if we did, it would probably be like a 30-45 minute stream. I guess if people really want to, we can wrap up and then transition to another game. I just kind of wanted to talk about this game because I think I find it really frustrating because it does feel like it has so much promise. And it
Simulacrum. Sorry, that just annoyed me. See?
Yep.
Uh,
Oh, God.
I feel like they do Bunk missed. Oh my god.
Sorry.
The BS full of. Oh my
Yeah.
God. I do think that this game is like doing very cool things. YOLO?
Yeah.
Why would you? I just gave you a compliment, game, and then you come at me with YOLO? My goodness. But it's 50% off right now during the Steam sale.
Yeah, it. I'm not going to tell you not to buy it. Like, it's. I don't think that it scratches the itch that the like Disney platformers did for me. This is a weird section.
Look at this painting. It's highlighted. I think I think there's like a potential future, like I'm just looking at the Steam page, so you could get like the Cub or Golf Club Nostalgia, which is I'm assuming Charlie driven, or the Cub in Planet of Lana, or the Cub Golf Club Nostalgia in High Water. Like there's different bundles. And if they're doing this like nostalgia radio series, like in this like obviously they have the world building, like the visual storytelling on lock. Like I could see it, like, you know, even just with these three, it'd be interesting to explore just how they kind of weave into each other, and then as their world
News of
grows
Charlie's
and as
departure
their
has sent
time
a
as
shockwave through the
developers
city,
grow and they
and
like
stories
cut
have
their
been
teeth
pouring
a little
in.
bit more, I
Let's hear
feel
one
like
now.
there could be something really special here, even in retrospect. But it's fine.
Yeah. I'm not fond of this game. I'm not fond of their games. They largely have positive reviews. I just like
luck of the draw, I guess.
I don't know. None of them are particularly mechanically interesting to me. None of them narratively are at all interesting to me. I do think that there are a lot of things that they do really well with regards to art and some of the storytelling that's usually like environmental storytelling, or even things like how the radio has these weird music genres because art has continued to develop. Like that's not a thing that most sci-fi stories do. So
to end up
I don't know. Like, it's not a recommendation from me, but I'm also not like, don't buy this game.
We're not really allowed to talk about it, but a few of the ships didn't make it.
Yeah, I would say I would creep
those
on the
that
Steam
fell
reviews.
back into the atmosphere and burned
I just
the
glanced through
cinders
them,
in the
and some of
sky.
them are really
Anyway,
succinct and
Despite it all, I
Yeah.
did find a new hobby.
Like,
sorts
for and against.
crawling
But
around below the sea.
Yeah, no, don't send me.
I
reviews
started
are
messing
a good
about
spot.
with the acoustics in the access tunnels.
for better or for worse.
Some of them are
I
miles
prefer a
long,
Steam
and
review
just
to a
about any
YouTube
sound
comment.
down there becomes beautiful.
I guess I have to go do. Yeah, I don't know. I'm with you. I looked at their reviews as well, and of course there are the ones that are just jokey ha-has, and then there are ones that are actually like, I really like this thing, or you know, there's something about this game that just didn't land with me, and a lot of it is, hey, the narrative of this game and the way that they approach storytelling is very childish and cynical in a way that I find unappealing, particularly
Yeah.
since like these are actual issues that we are currently dealing with.
Yeah, one of the comments was just like, I was really hoping for more platforming, but it was only like 20% platforming and like a lot of stealth and walking and waiting. And you know, like I didn't really think about that watching it, but I guess there is a lot of like laying in wait or just pushing forward too.
Yeah, I don't agree with the
You can see that they're-
percentages, but I can agree with that sentiment of like, yeah, I wanted more platforming.
Yeah, but it's also, I feel like the platforming is like, I think the game is secondary to, or tertiary. Like they're building a world. That's their main thing, especially with all these games being in the nostalgia radio world. That is very clear. And then I think second is they're telling a story, and then the platforming. because so much of it is put on wait while you're listening to radio, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's been multiple times where you've kind of stopped progress to listen to that narrative.
Yeah, and I want to say that I did that specifically because I wanted something to be the focus. When I played it, I played through, and I still was able to take it in pretty well. I think that was a bit more of a streamer decision on how to present the game as opposed to how I think people will play it or need to play it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that's probably going to be where we, yeah, that's a great indicator. That's how much money I have in my bank right now.
Got him. Wait, no. Oh no.
Yeah, it's rough out here. But yeah, I'm gonna bring us back to just chatting, kind of wrap up. Like I said, I don't think that we're going to wrap this game up. Again, I don't pull these games because I want to show the whole thing. I show it because I think that it does something interesting with the idea of nostalgia or around nostalgia. If you are interested, yeah, by all means, check it out on the Steam sale. Like I said, there are 3 of these. They all kind of have a similar vibe, but they are all different game genres, which I think is a pretty neat thing for a studio to do.
Yeah, especially a small studio. Like,
yeah,
knowledge and resources, you know?
They are not tiny, but they are by no means a big studio. The fact that they are able to put out... This game is really polished. I don't know how polished I felt like High Water was. And then Golf Club Wasteland, or Golf Club Nostalgia, was decently polished. Like, that's very impressive.
Yeah.